Archie Clark didn't earn the nickname Shake and Bake for nothing, as he was the original ankle breaker, being the first to use the crossover and step-back dribbles, even with the strict rules at the time. He was really hard to guard one-on-one, as he could easily blow by you, or he could pull up and hit the 18-footer all day. When he was able to get to the rim, he could change his shot in midair and finish around the trees. Archie was a walking double-double every time he stepped on the court, and he wasn't a slouch on defense either. He joined the Lakers as a 4th-round pick in 1966 and made an immediate impact, especially in the playoffs. He's mostly remembered for being part of the trade that sent Wilt to LA, but Archie was a star in his own right. He was at the forefront for players' rights, joining Oscar Robertson in his lawsuit against the NBA in 1970, and even co-founding the Retired Players Association. Archie was one of the best guards in the league during his prime, becoming a 2-time All-Star and All-NBA performer. He wasn't a franchise player, but he was a great addition to any team regardless of what role he was in. He was instrumental in bringing a new style of dribbling to the league while never receiving the credit he deserves. But today's video will highlight the father of the crossover. Welcome to PC Hoops, and let's get down to it. Archie was born July 15, 1941 in Conway, Arkansas, the 4th of 12 children. He grew up in Detroit, but his first love was baseball, as he didn't start playing basketball until the 10th grade. Archie was so good at baseball that he had an opportunity to try out for the Detroit Tigers out of high school. After getting only one college offer and struggling to find a decent job, he joined the U.S. Army after graduation. The Tigers would actually invite him to spring training, but it was 10 days after he enlisted. Archie was playing intramural ball at Andrews Air Force Base when his coach, Buzz Bennett, a Minnesota alum, noticed his talent and called an assistant coach on the team about him. Archie was offered a scholarship, as he would begin his college career at 22 years old, playing basketball and baseball. He joined Lou Hudson on the Minnesota squad that was a strong competitor in the Big Ten. Archie was a starter, but he took less than 10 shots a game, as Lou was the #1 option. Minnesota went 17-7, finishing 3rd in the Big Ten, as Archie averaged 11 points and 5 rebounds on 46% shooting. Archie won a national championship playing center field for the baseball team this year. He had a bigger role as a junior, as Minnesota won their first 6 games, being ranked as high as #3 in the nation. They even won 7 straight Big Ten games, but they lost to Michigan in both matchups. Lou was dominant this year, but the Gophers finished 19-5, 2nd in the Big Ten, so there was no tournament for them. Archie averaged 14 points and 5 rebounds. The Gophers were a lot worse in 1965. Especially when Lou got hurt, but Archie finally had his chance to shine, being named the team captain. Minnesota had one of the worst defenses in the country, so they really couldn't compete with the best Big Ten teams, going 7-7 in conference play. But Archie led the team and was 4th in the conference in scoring, making an All-Big Ten first team. His great senior season saw him average 25 points and 5.5 rebounds on 49% shooting. Even though he was 25, Archie's elite handle and scoring ability made him a solid pro prospect, as he was selected in the 4th round of the 1966 NBA draft by the Lakers. LA also added Jerry Chambers from Utah. Archie's minutes were inconsistent to begin his career, but he was putting up good numbers off the bench. He dropped 24 points on 10 of 15 shooting against the Royals, and 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists on 10 of 11 shooting against Philly. He did pretty well in the month of March, averaging 18 points on 45% shooting. As on the 11th against San Francisco, he dropped 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 10 assists. He and Gail Goodrich provided scoring off the bench, but Elgin and Jerry were the main contributors. Darryl Imhoff had the best season of his career, making his only All-Star game. He had an increased role because the Lakers traded Leroy Ellis and Rudy LaRusso, 2 of their better big men. Their defense was 9th in a 10-team league, so they finished 36-45, but they still qualified for the playoffs. Archie finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting behind Lou Hudson and Dave Bing, averaging 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. The Lakers faced the Warriors, as they were clearly overmatched, especially in the front court, but Archie wouldn't be afraid of the playoff pressure, as he dropped 26, 24, and 27, shooting 51%, but the Lakers lost all 3 of these games and were eliminated. Archie began 1967 as a starting point guard. With this increased role, Archie would break out. On October 27th against Chicago, he put up 39 points on 15 of 21 shooting, then followed that up with 33, 7, and 7 the next game. Archie would get hot again in March, averaging 21 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5 assists on 46% shooting. He was 16th in scoring, 14th in assists, and 19th in field goal percentage, being voted to his first All-Star game. The Lakers' offense was their strength, as they led the league in field goal percentage. Their 52-30 record was their best in 5 years, as Archie averaged 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. He dropped 17 points in Game 2 of the semifinals against Chicago, as well as 20 points and 10 assists in Game 5 to advance. He averaged 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in the sweep of the Warriors in the conference finals. The Lakers advanced to the finals and faced Boston, a team hungry to reclaim their spot at the top after having their 8-year title streak snapped last year. Their defense was suffocating, as while Archie averaged his usual numbers, he shot just 36%, as the Lakers lost in 6 games. Archie would move across the country in 1968, as he was included in the package sent to the Sixers from Wilt Chamberlain. After the Sixers won the title in 1967, Wilt wanted a new contract and included owning a piece of the team, but the two sides couldn't come to an agreement, so he was traded. Philly's backcourt was set with Wally Jones and Howard Greer, so Archie would come off the bench this year. But he was playing well as a 6th man, contributing to the highest scoring offense in the league. He was still efficient as well, finishing in the top 20 in field goal percentage. Even with Luke Jackson missing most of the season, the Sixers finished 52-30. Archie averaged 14 points, 3 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. They matched up with the Celtics in the semifinals, but they lost 3 straight to start the series. Archie came through in Game 4 with 29 points and 5 assists on 13 of 18 shooting to help Philly stay alive. He dropped 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in Game 5, but he shot 6 for 17 in a close loss, ending their season. Luke was struggling with injuries again in 1969, so Jim Washington was brought in as his replacement. Archie would be a starter again, and he would have one of his most efficient seasons. He dropped 31, 9, and 5 on 10 of 15 shooting in the second game of the season. Archie was hooping in November, averaging 22 points, 3 rebounds, and 4.5 assists on 57% shooting, including a game against Boston where he dropped 28 points on 11 of 12 shooting. Archie was also showing that he was more than just a scorer, as although he had 7 30-point games, he had 4 games with double-digit assists. The Sixers' defense was their Achilles heel, plus they were undisciplined, finishing near the top of the league in personal fouls. Their 42-40 record was barely enough for a semifinal matchup against Milwaukee. Archie averaged 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, as he dropped 21 in Game 1, but Philly lost. He averaged 17 points in the next 2 games, as the Sixers were down 2-1. The basket must have seemed really small after this, as he shot 21% in Games 4 and 5, as the Sixers were eliminated in a gentleman's sweep. Archie was someone who was very outspoken, not being afraid to challenge coaches or upper management. He would join Oscar Robertson's 1970 lawsuit against the NBA as a litigant, as this wouldn't be settled until 1976, but it gave players a lot more control in free agency. The Sixers didn't get that much better in 1970, but Archie had a bigger role in the offense, dropping 4 20-point games in October alone. On November 22nd against Atlanta, he dropped 23 points and a career-high 15 rebounds. On January 19th against the Lakers, he dropped a season-high 38 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists on 15 of 18 shooting. He really showed his all-around game in March, averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists on 50% shooting. Archie was second on the team behind Billy Cunningham in scoring, finishing 10th overall, also ranking 9th in assists and 10th in field goal percentage. The Sixers were still fouling a lot, but they were a solid offensive team, finishing 47 and 35. Archie averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists as the Sixers faced the Bullets in the semifinals. He dropped 26 in Game 2 and 24 in Game 4, but Philly was down 3-1. He put up 31 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in a narrow Game 5 win to keep the series alive. A rough performance in Game 6 was counteracted by 33, 16, and 5 from Billy, as Philly forced a Game 7. Archie dropped 37 points and 5 assists, but the Bullets won by 8 to advance. Archie would have a new home in 1971, as after one game with Philly, he was traded to the Bullets for Kevin Lowry and Fred Carter. He switched agents, initially refusing to play for the team under his current contract. This was also during the time that Earl Monroe was going through his contract problems with the team as well. Archie rejoined the Bullets 9 days after the trade, dropping a career high of 40 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists against the Hawks on November 26. He was going off in January, averaging 27 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 8.5 assists, as he played well enough to make his second All-Star game, joining Wes Unseld and Jack Marin. Even after the break, he averaged 27 points and 10 assists on 54% shooting in the second half of February. He dropped 19 30-point games and 19 games with double-digit assists. He was a top 10 scorer and a top 5 passer, being named to the All-NBA second team and finishing 12th in MVP voting. Archie and Jack were carrying the Bullets' subpar offense, but their 38-44 record was enough for a semifinal matchup against the Knicks. In Archie's career year, he averaged 25 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 8 assists. Archie dropped 38 points in the overtime Game 1 win. He dropped 35 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists in Game 3, but that was the only other win Baltimore would get. 31 points and 11 assists in Game 6 wasn't enough, as the Bullets were eliminated. Archie's contract situation went unresolved the entire season. The Bullets initially offered him a low-ball deal, almost 3 times lower than what he requested, so Archie held out. The Bullets gave his agent the authority to talk with other teams, but soon after, they filed a lawsuit against Archie, preventing him from negotiating with ABA teams. They also enforced a reserve clause that prevented Archie from signing with other NBA teams unless the Bullets approved, even though his contract had already expired. After a federal judge ruled against Archie in December 1972, he continued to hold out, but before an arbitrator was brought in to mediate, the two sides finally agreed on a new deal. Archie wouldn't make his season debut until January 16th, with the Bullets sitting at 26 and 17. He flirted with a triple-double on a couple occasions, dropping 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 14 assists against Philly, and 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists against the Cavs. Even in his shortened season, he still put up 16 20-point games and 4 double-doubles. The Bullets really picked it up after Archie came back, as they finished 52 and 30. He averaged 18 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 7 assists on a career-high 51% shooting, as the Bullets faced the Knicks in the semifinals. Archie averaged 21 points in this series, but the Knicks defense held the Bullets to less than 100 points in 4 of the 5 games, with New York winning in a gentleman's sweep. The Bullets moved to Landover, Maryland in 1973, now being named the Capital Bullets. But Archie's season would be hampered by a separated shoulder that required surgery, so Kevin Porter was now the new starter. Archie was struggling to get back into form, as he only dropped 10 20-point games and 4 double-doubles, with his season high coming on Christmas against New York, with 28 points and 5 assists on 11 of 17 shooting. Elvin Hayes had an amazing season, as he had more responsibility with West dealing with knee issues. The Bullets continued to be a defensive team, finishing 47 and 35. Archie averaged 13 points, 2.5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. The Bullets faced the Knicks again in the semifinals, but Archie dropped 18 total points in the first 5 games. He stepped up in Game 6 with 20 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists as the Bullets forced a Game 7. He had a rough shooting performance as the Knicks seemed to be the Bullets' kryptonite, eliminating them again. Archie had yet another new home in 1973 as he was traded to the Sonics for Dick Gibbs and a 3rd-round pick. Archie was made the starting point guard, and he dropped 27 points and 8 assists in the Sonics debut, then 21 points, 10 assists, and 2 steals 2 games later. He had 14 20-point games, 8 games with double-digit assists, and 9 games with at least 3 steals. Even in his limited offensive role, he finished 11th in assists and 13th in field goal percentage. Spencer Haywood and Fred Brown carried his team to a 43 and 39 record, making the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. Archie averaged 14 points, 3 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 1.5 steals, as he had modest production in the first round series win against Detroit. He had similar numbers against the Warriors in the second round, but the Sonics lost the series in 6 games. Archie was traded again in 1975, going to the Pistons for a 1978 first-rounder. Eric Money and Chris Ford were the established backcourt starters, so Archie came off the bench again. He didn't crack 20 points this season, but he was still producing, putting up 18 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals on November 4th against Milwaukee. He had another 18-point game on 7-11 shooting on March 14th against Portland. Curtis Rowe had an all-star season, but Bob Lanier really didn't have that much help, as the Pistons went 36 and 46. Archie averaged 8 points, 1.5 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Pistons made the playoffs, facing the Bucks in the first round. Archie dropped 15 points and 5 assists on 6 of 7 shooting in Game 2, and although he had a cold shooting night in Game 3, he still did his part with 6 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals to help Detroit win the series. They faced the defending champion Warriors in the semifinals, as Archie dropped double figures in Games 2 and 3, but Detroit lost a close Game 6 to get eliminated. Archie would retire after this season, and since he was already in his home state, he became a member of the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. He ran for mayor in Ecorse twice, but he lost both times. Always an advocate for the players, Archie co-founded the Retired Players Association in 1992, along with Oscar Robertson, Dave DeBusschere, Dave Bing, and Dave Cowens. Archie Clark was one of the most underrated guards ever. In a time where the rules were really strict around dribbling, Archie was able to adapt and create new moves to be effective on the court. His game could easily translate to the modern NBA. His ball handling and finishing abilities made him extremely tough to guard, but if the defender sagged off, he could hit the outside shot all day. Archie could have had a Hall of Fame career if he was ever given a full green light on a consistent basis, but when he got the opportunity, he proved to be one of the best players in the league. He still has his place in history because he was the first player to use the crossover and step back, as his moves were copied by several players after him, but he still doesn't get the credit that he deserves for being an innovator. Man, thank you guys. Really appreciate y'all for supporting the channel, man. I was seeing the comments like, oh, you gotta check out Archie Clark. He's the first guy to do the crossover dribble. So I'm looking, okay, I think it was the game where the ABA All-Stars are playing the NBA All-Stars, and he's going down a fast break, and he hits this Euro step, double clutch layup. Like, too bad he missed it, but I'm like, wow. Like, the way he plays so much like a modern guard. He played like somebody would play in like 2010. Like, he just can like contort his body and change his shot and do all these weird angles and double hand layups and across the head and behind the back. Like, he's a great player, man, but it just seemed like he never really got that opportunity to be the #1 guy on the team. Maybe that one season in Washington, but really even then he was going through a contract dispute, and they already had Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld. They already had a bunch of guys already, so he was never really going to be the main guy on that team. Anybody can be an all-star, but if you make all-NBA, like all-NBA is different. I feel like that's a lot different. Like, you're really one of the best players in the league. Like, you're not just a popular guy. Shout out to Archie Clark, man. Very underrated guy, extremely underrated guy, man. An elite ball handler, someone who definitely is a pioneer that doesn't get talked about. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate y'all. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Turn my post notifications on. Please be safe. Stay on the grind. Have a great day. I'm out. Peace.